All right, today's the second day where I'm going to be talking about the Bible. Today I'm going to be talking about Genesis chapter 2, only 25 verses today. So I'm going to go ahead and read from the King James Version again. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, and on the seventh day God ended his work which he has made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man and out of the whom he had formed, and out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out to Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and came into four heads. The name of the first is Pisan, that which compa- that is that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone, and the name of the second river is Gihon, the same as that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. And the third river is Hiddekel, which that which is goeth towards the east of Assyria, and the fourth is the Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden mayest freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in that day thou eatest of it thou shalt surely die. And the Lord God said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him and help meet for him. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an help for him to meet. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto man. And Adam said, This is now a bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, and man and his wife were not ashamed. So my biggest issue with that particular translation there is that a lot of it just was poor, in terms of just being poor, a poor translation, or difficult to read, all of that. So not great, didn't like it. It's a second telling of the creation story, which makes sense because we do know that there are multiple authors of the Bible, and specifically of the five books of Moses, there were actually four authors, a redactor, and all of that stuff. And they each took the thing and they basically had to put everything together, and it was a whole thing that they had to do, and it wasn't the best thing in the world, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But basically, it's just retelling the story of creation. Which, to be fair, makes some sense because sometimes you just gotta retell the same story. And in this one, God creates Eve, which is great because we need Eve in order for everything else that happens in the Bible to happen. Because otherwise, there would have been no, future generations, no Cain, no Abel. It would have just been Adam asexually reproducing it. That wouldn't have worked. The four rivers thing is interesting because Ethiopia. I did not realize that Ethiopia was so important. Like I know there's the Ethiopian Bible, but I had always forgotten that Ethiopia was so important in the Bible, as a place where it was known because I've always thought the Garden of Eden was in the Middle East, um, because most of the stuff happens in the Middle East and Africa. Um, a lot of people feel that it's in Mesopotamia, which makes sense because of the Euphrates. So Iraq, which makes sense. Um, But then you got like Egypt and all of that. They've never found the Garden of Eden. Um, Scientists say there was a real Garden of Eden in Botswana, but I don't know if I necessarily have for the Bible. You never really know with these things. The Bible's got some fun stuff in there. I've never actually this particular one as opposed to the other one because for the most part when you're in church you're just sort of told that God created Adam and Eve, God created man, God created woman from man, blah blah blah. And then they go on to talk about how Eve sinned and then all of that happens and you're just like, okay, hey, thanks, have a nice day. So yeah, nothing crazy in this particular verse, but I don't understand why the King James version is so popular now. But we'll go ahead and look at the a different version tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in.